Great, thank you.
The mayor and Mr. Schultz. Next item. Discuss residency requirements of City Council.
Mr. Mayor, this, as the memo states, was requested by council members Poppy and Schultz, and I guess I'll let them address the issue.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Schultz.
at a recent city council meeting, it matters from the floor, people had expressed some concerns regarding several topics, and a specific one was actually asked of the city council to investigate the residency of the mayor and kind of see, where that all lies. Ever since October, September of last year, even, I haven't kept a running tally, but I know I've received over hundreds of inquiries regarding this particular thing. And so, quite frankly, I just was grateful that someone brought it forward so that we could, as a council, have an open dialogue as people would ask me to say, why don't you look into it? I said, if you want us to look into it, come and ask us to look into it. I'm not going to take this on as myself. And so I am just kind of growing weary of dealing with this issue. And as such, it was asked for us to look into. I think that when the citizens come up to the podium and ask a very specific question of us, we owe it to their constituents to at least address their concerns and give them an answer. Historically, I think we would ask staff to return answers to the residents, but in this particular case, I felt that since they were kind of coming after you, that it was only appropriate that we have an open dialogue about it and just give you the opportunity to answer to what they're saying. And quite frankly, we put this on here and we just felt that you should just talk about it and kind of say, hey, let's just talk about this. Let's see where everybody's coming from with this and go with it from there. So I guess, Councilmember Poppy and I, we hit this at a recent risk management meeting. We just said, let's bring it up and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective as like Councilmember Schultz, I'm just tired of the phone calls and just let's just be done with it. And so I think we get bogged down a lot of times in things that take away from the important issues that we need to deal with. So let's just get this out of the way and let's just all move forward. So,
and I do know in kind of talking about this, and some people that have historically brought forth information to me, they've brought forth different times, public admitted documents, minutes from council meetings where there's been some discrepancy in the listed address of your residency. In last year's meetings in February, March, April, and May, you reported residency as a Maple Grove resident. On meeting 6/28/2010, you listed yourself as a resident of 625 First Avenue Northeast, which is a rental unit owned by Wiley Properties. On 7/26/2010, you reported your residence as 241 Fifth Avenue Northeast, also by Hennepin County Tax Records. That's listed as a Wiley Enterprises owned property. And then back again on 10/25/2010, and including the affidavit for candidacy for the mayor position, the residence was listed as 625 First Avenue Northeast without an apartment number on it. These are things that people have brought forward to me, and quite frankly, I just want to give you a chance to answer to them and you just kind of answer their concerns as they're throwing it out to us, because I think that I think that you have a right to address these concerns people are throwing at you.
So your question is what?
Well, first of all, the people came up from Matters from the Floor and were questioning your residency, and so did you have anything that you wanted to say towards them, or any way to answer people asking me specifically why so many different residences within an annual period of time? So, is there anything you'd like to address regarding that?
Well, on 9 previous occasions, I have addressed this issue. Mr. Maxim, is there a legal description of residency for starters?
There's a legal requirement that to hold office you be a resident of the unit of government. So in the case of being an official in Osseo, it's required that you be a resident of the city of Osseo.
So what does the term resident mean?
Term resident means basically where you live, but it's not a term that you can look at and say this is the single definition of residency. A determination of residency is based on facts and based on a number of facts, and you can consider a whole host of those facts to make that ultimate determination: is this person a resident or is this person not a resident?
Mr. Schultz, do you know where I live?
From what I've been able to see, you live at 625 First Avenue Northeast. in
Apartment
Osseo.
what?
I don't know. Never been there, and it's not listed any place in any public documents.
Have you been at any of these opportunities when I get up and I say, my name is Alan Lindquist, I live at 625 First Avenue Northeast, apartment number 2? Have you been at a meeting where I've said that?
I'm curious as to the reasons behind your questions.
Well, I think it's unusual that I've been in office for almost a year, and I've lived at this residence for more than a year. I think it's unusual that this question would come up so late. If it was an issue, then I would think it was unusual that it would come up so late.
I agree with you, sir.
I'm not done speaking.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. On September 21st, at an OBA meeting held on Tuesday, I indicated that a residency was a requirement. The residency definition is not a legal definition. So I spoke with the League of Minnesota Cities, and they said the residency requirement is not a legal term. But I also spoke with the people that worked on Jesse Ventura's situation in Brooklyn Park. Jesse lived in Maple Grove and ran for office in Brooklyn Park. And they said the Supreme Court of Minnesota stated that you have to live in your community 4 days of the week in order to run in your community. So on September 21st, I met at an OBA meeting and I stated my address as 625 First Avenue Northeast, Apartment 2. Now before that, and I moved into town when I was starting to expect the possibility of running for mayor. The law says you have to be in resident 30 days before the election. I moved into Osseo 90 days before the election to make sure that we covered those bases. I made that statement on September 21st at the OBA meeting. Then I moved to September 22nd at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, October 6th, Wednesday night at a Northwest Cities Channel 12 presentation, October 8th at Berkshire, October 18th at Steeple Point at 3 p.m., December 21st at an OBA meeting, November 2nd on Channel 12. And December 15th, there was an article published in the Osseo Press. And the question was posed by a woman named Alicia Miller, why did I decide to run for mayor of Osseo? I said I realized I would have to be a resident of Osseo, and so I checked with the Attorney General office and the Minnesota Supreme Court ruling when Jesse Ventura resided in Maple Grove and ran for the council in Brooklyn Park, that he would have to reside 4 days of the week in Brooklyn Park to establish residency. I've actually lived in Osseo for about 11 years, but I seldom slept here. So I rented an apartment from my wife at 241 Fifth Avenue Northeast, which she rented out from under me. And so then I had to move to another apartment, and now I have made arrangements with her to rent an apartment at that facility for, well into excess of a year, 90 days before the time I filed. Now the question is, the question that Mr. Poppy made was, why do we bring up this frivolous stuff over and over and over again? Now, if we have people in our city that don't know this, maybe some of our personnel here support that position. I was walking by Mr. Weber when he was talking to Sheriff Stanek, and he said, well, our mayor doesn't really live in town. Now, I don't know why he would say that. He's never been to my apartment. I have a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment that I live in town. And I live there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then, like many of us, we go to the lake on the weekends. Now, I've been absent from that place on a motorcycle trip that I went about 10 days on in September. I was absent when I went to my daughter's wedding in Kenya. And I was absent when I met my other daughter in Rome. Otherwise, there are 14 people at that apartment building that will come and testify to the fact that I live there, and I talk to them there. I scrape my own ice off my windows because there's no garage there. So if you people don't know where I live, I mean, I know where you live. I drive by and say hello to you. I know where Mr. Weber lives. I don't say Mr. Weber doesn't really live here, because he does live there. I don't say Mr. Schultz doesn't live here, because I see your wife out in front. In fact, I've helped her put flowers over this thing that you have in front. I mean, I know where you people live. If you don't know where I live and you don't support the fact that I live there, that's a problem, because it's been published in papers. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opportunities where it's been published. I was campaigning, and a gentleman named Doug Lee was in the apartment, and I handed him a brochure that I had made up for campaigning. And he said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "I live at 625 First Avenue Northeast." Mr. Lee has never been to my place. He's never scraped ice off my car. I don't know if that would answer the question, but if there are any more questions of where I live, that's where I live. Now,